Hi, today we're going to be talking again about Jamestown, this time focusing on one of their leaders, John Smith. After the first very tough winter, John Smith took over as leader. He was the third leader of Jamestown. The other two were not doing a very good job. So it was the summer of 1608, and he became the president of the colony. Unlike the other leaders, though, he wasn't a gentleman. He was just an experienced seaman and a soldier. Smith's leadership finally gave the colony a chance to survive. A lot of the settlers did not like John Smith. He forced everyone to work, and he made a new rule, and it said, if you don't work, you don't eat. However, that rule was very necessary because too many of the settlers were just sitting around and expecting everyone else to find the food and to build the homes. Unfortunately, John Smith was injured in October of 1609, and he had to sail back to England so he could recover. So I'm going to read a chapter on John Smith from one of the books in the classroom to tell us a little bit more about him and his effect on the colony. The Jamestown Colony might not have survived without Captain John Smith. He was a tough, no-nonsense man. He worked hard, and he expected everyone else to do the same. Some people admired him. Others hated him. Pocahontas admired him, and she saved his life twice. She was a bright-eyed Indian princess who was about 12 years old when the settlers first came to Virginia. The pale-skinned men and their strange ways intrigued her, and she came to visit them often. Sometimes she would come and just turn cartwheels in the middle of the settlement. Other times she would bring them food. It was John Smith who seemed to interest her the most, though. Like him, she recognized a person whose intelligence and curiosity matched her own. And like her father, the great chief Powhatan, Smith seemed fearless. Many of the settlers did hate Smith, but they did recognize he was a good leader. When he had to go back to England, even his enemies missed him. They said he was a braggart and he couldn't possibly have done all of the things he claimed to. And he might have exaggerated a little bit, but he really did do all the things he said he did, like he sold his school books and ran away to sea, or he went off to Hungary and fight the Turks. And while he was there, on one bloody afternoon, Smith beheaded 3 Turks. A very grateful Hungarian prince granted him a coat of arms with 3 Turks' heads emblazoned on it. But he didn't stay a Hungarian hero for long. He was soon captured and sent as a slave to Constantinople, where a Turkish woman bought him. But her relatives didn't think very much of him, and so he was sold again. This time, he killed his master, escaped, got thrown into the Mediterranean Sea, wandered through Russia, Poland, and Germany doing other heroic things, and he ended up in North Africa fighting pirates. Naturally, someone who liked adventure the way that John Smith did would be very attracted to this adventure of going to the New World. Besides, like another man named Sir Walter Raleigh, he had an idea that America could someday be a new English land. And he understood that there was a lot more to be gained than just finding gold. He realized that there was a real opportunity for any man or woman who had energy and courage. John Smith was 28 years old when he took over the leadership of the Jamestown Colony, and things were in a bad way. This was his motto: if anyone would not work, neither should he eat. There were some grumblers, but everyone wanted to eat, so everyone worked. Smith went and he got food from the Native Americans. He learned their language, and he learned the ways that they hunted and fished. He had been a soldier before, and he was tough. But he was also fair, and he was honest, and the Powhatans soon understood that about him. They called him Werowance, or Chief of Jamestown. That was a sign of respect, and that is what he was. The Native Americans seemed undecided about how to act toward these strangers on the land. What would you have done if you were a Powhatan? How would you have treated their leader? Now, John Smith had goods that they wanted. He had axes, shovels, blankets, and so they traded with him, and he was a natural trader. He took his English goods back to the villages, and he came back to Jamestown with boatloads of corn. They told him of the prediction that men from the east would destroy their villages. And he told them, "Don't worry, they came in peace." Still, though, the Native Americans couldn't seem to make up their minds. Sometimes they entertained with John Smith and they had dances and feasting. Other times, though, they tried to kill him. Once he was brought before an Indian werewance and he was expecting to die. He pulled out his compass and showed them how it worked, talked about the heavens and the earth, and soon he gained a new tribe of friends. Another time he was taken by the great Powhatan, who seemed to have several Indian warriors ready to just beat his brains out. But Pocahontas, who was Powhatan's favorite daughter, came to his rescue. She put her head on Smith's, and Powhatan let him live. Now, was this a prearranged ceremony, or did Pocahontas actually save his life? No one knows for sure, but the Indians ended up adopting Smith into their tribe, and they made him an honorary chief. And now he was a member of Pocahontas's family. When some other Indians tried to ambush Smith, Pocahontas would warn him of the trap. Now, cats are supposed to have 9 lives, but John Smith has more than that. While exploring the Chesapeake Bay, he was stung by a deadly stingray, and he was in such agony that he had his own grave dug. But he then recovered, and then he ate the stingray. In fact, the place where this happened, near the mouth of the Rappahannock River in Virginia, is now called Stingray Point. John Smith was asleep in his boat once when gunpowder exploded. It tore the flesh from his body and his thighs 9 to 10 inches square. Smith was so badly wounded he had to return to England. Well, Pocahontas was told that he was dead. And John Smith never made it back to Virginia, though he desperately wanted to. But he did get to go up to New England, which is what he named, and he mapped the coast just as he had mapped most of Virginia. He wrote many books, and he became famous for them. "I am no compiler by hearsay, but I have been a real actor," he said. And so he was. People still read his books today because they are so interesting and entertaining. And that is just a short story all about John Smith and his role in the settlement of Jamestown.